Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Psychic Tarot Show, coming to you live every Saturday here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channel. Welcome, everyone. Just checking in to see how you're all doing. How is the week feeling? Hi from Augusta, Georgia. Hi, Lupo. Hi, sunny sunshine Greece. Linda Christie, welcome, welcome. So here we're going to be looking at the forecast for this upcoming week, starting today, Saturday the 6th, and going till next week, which is, let me do my math, the 13th, Saturday the 13th. So before we get started, I'm just going to bring up some of the items on the screen. Of course, just to make sure you're in the right place, you can see here. Get my screen working. There we go. The Psychic Tarot Weekly Show with ASHALA. And you can book a session with me. You can find me here on the Beyond Mystic Consultations page, where you can book a 1-hour psychic tarot reading. And yes, those readings are recorded. I have spaces in the upcoming week, heading into the Christmas season, a really great time to have a reading. Really, over the next month or so is the most ideal time of all to have a reading for yourself, because it helps you to prepare and set the tone, especially going into this very potent year of 2026, the year of the fire horse. Are we ready for this, everyone? Take a big breath. So let's have a look at the cards, starting out with our overview spread. I'm going to shuffle for a moment here. You can see my beautiful backdrop. I'm experimenting. I've been doing lots of filming of my pre-recorded courses, and I'm experimenting with different backdrops. I love this one. I'm on the coast right now, and I miss living in the mountains. I lived in the mountains for many years. So this is just giving me that feeling of being in the high altitude, fresh mountain air. I'm clearing the cards. If you're not aware of what this process is, and you can see it's very rapid and very random, Janine and I love to call this ordering the universe. It's just a way to kind of set a clear tone, start fresh. Look at that, 2 aces. Wow. You just lay them into 3 piles, any random order, and makes this big kind of shuffly mess. And then you gather them up and you're ready to shuffle. So I'm tuning in with all of your energies. Walk through the Alps. Yeah, right? Hi, Angela. Yeah. Thank you. I like this backdrop too. So tuning in with all of our energies together, remembering that frequency of last week. Was it helpful for you to notice if your mind wanted to follow one of those threads and go down a spiral? I caught myself 2 or 3 times where I was starting to do that. And, you know, I mean, we all do it all the time, but last week felt particularly poignant for if I let myself go down those spirals, I could really go down the spiral. Yes, big time. And so it was helpful for me to know that and just kind of catch myself as I was starting to do that and go, okay, this week, this is a tendency that I know is not necessarily based in reality, or the version of reality that I'm wanting to stay in alignment with. Ah, nice to see you live. Linda, yes. You know, it's so interesting that I found out I was doing some ancestral research on, on my father's side, and they are actually from a little town in France, not far from the Alps, not far from where that movie was filmed. So, yeah, I guess I'm tuning in with my French ancestors right now. Just one more round of shuffling to see what is coming forward as most helpful information for all of us this week. I'm like, Heidi, today, do we get some yodeling? Yeah, right? Swiss Miss. Oh my God. You guys are so adorable. Oh, I should do this more often. It's fun, isn't it? Yeah. So, first card in our lineup is a big thinker, King of Swords. Kings have achieved the highest level of mastery in the element that they are associated with. In this case, swords, the mind, thoughts. So we're coming into this week with our minds really highly tuned. Interesting, we just had the full moon in Gemini. So high-mindedness, a lot of just that kind of Gemini energy, and I am one, so I can speak quite confidently about this, is about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You know, when you build a puzzle and you get this little section built and this little section built and this little section built, maybe the outside edges, and you start to see, if you didn't know what the picture was, after a while, you're like, okay, now I can see it. I can start to see it. Even though I haven't completed it, I see enough of it that I can have a sense of what's really going on. That's how the Gemini energy works. It's kind of like a massive data processing machine that just holds on to all that information until a pattern begins to emerge. We've got patterns emerging as a result of that full moon in Gemini. Every year at this time, the full moon is in Gemini. It is a very kind of chaotic energy, but very light, very playful. Gemini is the most playful of all the signs. And so this is that time of year, right? Early December. There's that, you know, spirit in the air. Used to be really an exciting time for people, especially people with children, families with children, getting ready for the holidays and all that sort of excitement, the buzz in the air. So we've got this. We brought this into this week. We put together some of the big picture, I want to say, patterns. We're getting a perspective developing. Let's see how well that is aspected by the other cards around it. Wow. Wow. Okay, so in Taurus, in our material security, our kind of, almost like the root chakra, where we feel safe and grounded, the things around us, our possessions. This is very interesting because it is like the small world. It's a small world after all. So a sense of seeing the big picture, even around things like financial I want to say systems, global financial systems. Like there's going to be this week a lot of exposing these larger global financial networks. So we talked about there's been a lot of stuff being exposed coming into, maybe it's not coming into the front of the collective consciousness, but it's definitely starting to show up. People are getting a clue of what's going on with, say, World Economic Forum, the global elite agendas around finances. This is a breakthrough area. The suggestion here is that more people will wake up this week around those financial systems of global control than maybe ever before up until now. Wow. Interesting. Whoa. Okay. And for those of us in this community, we're not just, of course, waking up to this information. Most of us have been awake to it for a really long time. We are starting to see ways that we can build new systems. This is the house of Gemini, and it's the entrepreneur card. So this week could have you feeling quite, I want to say, encouraged to at least set down some strategic plans, maybe plans for the next 3 to 5 years, certainly laying foundations in this next year. So this week feels like you may kind of take that large, big picture perspective where you're putting the pieces of the puzzle together, getting a sense of things and feeling like you have an idea of how you're going to strategize with your finances, businesses, working collaboratively, entrepreneurship, seeking funding. All of those areas are highlighted this week. So I guess you could say it would be potentially a good week to work on business plans, to perhaps begin negotiations to secure investors or funding for projects. Wow. To develop, I want to say, policies around working with groups or teams, strategic planning, because this is in Gemini, which is the mind. We've just come out of the Gemini full moon, the highlighted of all the year, the week where the mind and its ability to strategically plan is at its greatest for the whole year. Wow. So this isn't so much a visionary energy, everyone. This is actually more about visions you've already kind of tuned in with. It's not where you're just coming up with an idea for the first time. This is where you're taking an idea that's been on the back burner for a long time, maybe, or at least for some time, and you are setting it down into writing, setting it down into some sort of strategic model. Wow. Great work, everyone. And this is the house of home, sanctuary. We had last week, don't isolate yourself at home. Remember, we saw that last week. This has the same feeling to it. This is also about making changes in your home. So we have this beautiful little Page of Wands, who is both the catalyst, the catalyzer, creator, also a little bit of a troublemaker. He can be a bit of a trickster. So look at your home and notice if there's any area that is a little bit troublesome. Do you have some kind of leaky faucet that might be doing some damage behind the walls, or, little infestation of ants in a certain spot or whatever? It's like looking in your house, because this energy is both catalytic and kind of gets you to motivate you to do something, but it also can be a little tricksterish. So it's where we take a situation in our homes that we know is not ideal and we deal with it this week. Something not huge, and I'm not talking about, you know, for the most part, renovating the entire place, but feeling compelled to address something before it turns into a bigger problem is what I'm seeing here with this. So a little bit of home maintenance, I guess. Oh, look at this. 2 pages side by each looking at each other. Oh, right. And I don't have the cards in large view. Let's fix that. There we go. 2 pages facing each other. Almost makes me think they want to get into trouble together. The pages are the children of the tarot. This one is more of the mischief maker. This one is the idea generator. So you put those two together, they could be a little bit trouble, right? This is air and fire. Yeah. So the Page of Swords showing up in the house of Leo. Leo has to do with your confidence. So there could be a feeling this week where your confidence gets a boost. And the guides are saying, use that, do something with that. You could receive accolades in some way. You could receive a reflection of like an affirmation. And it feels that this is meant to catalyze you to take the next step towards something that you might have been holding back on. That's really interesting. Aw. Yep. I'm looking here. Everyone over in the chat, it looks like you're all having a great a great discussion. Oh no, I have to check under all my sinks. Thanks. Right. Well, I think most of us have some inkling of something that we might have just been avoiding looking at. So a good time to do that. And yeah, I like this. Let's see where this goes into the house of Virgo. Whoa. Hmm. Well, that is very interesting because these two, the pages are really action oriented. They're very much like, don't just think about it, do it. Just act on sort of that first impulse. Virgo tends to be more of a worrywart. Yes, Virgo will like stew and stew and stew until it's just kind of basted in the pot here. So there's a feeling where also, when you get a compliment, say, for example, you can sometimes feel like, first of all, it goes to your head and you're like, yeah. But on the other hand, you can also start to think, oh, maybe that's not true. And I should try harder to be what that reflection is. Or, sometimes it can throw us into a little bit of internal turmoil. And again, like I said, there's the importance of not focusing too much on things this week, not letting yourself. So it's different than last week where we could really go into big downward spirals that were super scary. This one is more like little ego whirlpools where you end up not doing anything because you talk yourself out of everything. You ever been in those situations? I know I sure get into them relatively regularly. So I guess don't take things too seriously this week, is what I'm being shown with this. Also, really watch out for, the high consumption season, right? We're going into the high consumption season where people tend to eat richer food, they drink more alcohol, they have more indulgence, generally speaking. And, we got to pace ourselves because we still got weeks to go before we're into January, where we all sort of decide to go back onto the healthy regimes. So, yeah, just be a little aware this week that there could be some, I want to say, toxic energy around overconsumption. So, just tone down a little bit, pace yourself, is what I'm hearing. Okay. Wow. Two of Pentacles in the house of Libra. Libra partnerships, relationships, contracts, this has to do with making really big decisions that could be impactful down the road. And it doesn't feel like this is a week to make big choices. People could be feeling like they have to choose one way or the other around this is big contractual agreements, really big life altering decisions. It seems like I'm getting at least another couple of weeks before we make a direct move. Interesting, we just came out of Mercury retrograde, and it doesn't appear that we're making big choices even now. It might even be 2 months. So leaving some of the bigger decisions, pushing them down the road just a bit. And when I say big decisions, these are things obviously that it's, not just going to impact you necessarily for the next year or two, but things that will literally be life-changing choices. Those ones are being sort of held in limbo right now. And this translates out into the political arena. It translates into the global, geopolitical arena, because there is still a lot of transition happening over the next couple of years. It's not smooth sailing yet. And really big waves of finalizing things being on one side or the other, if they're made too soon, if those big final sort of lockdown things are put into place too soon, it can be actually more detrimental. We need to keep like open-minded, open-hearted, keep things moving over the next year or two. So you can look at it in your own personal life and then extend that into, the global political narrative as well. It's like micro and macrocosm, what we can do in our own lives. And so what does this mean? It means living with the uncertainty a while longer. And one of the things that has got humanity into trouble in the past is that we rush in. What is that? Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. We rush in to just get out of the discomfort of whatever the uncertainty is. We're just like, I just want it something certain. Just give me certainty. I don't care if it locks me into something that is ultimately not going to be for my greater good. We want to really acknowledge that this is not a time to try to lock things in, because there's a lot of evolution happening, rapid change, rapid growth, rapid readjustment going on, personally, politically, globally. Whew. Got the chills from that. Yeah. Interesting. A huge decision in the last 25 years that matters now. Mhm. Yeah. Suiting right now, very held in limbo. Mhm. Yeah. Breathe, watch it play out. Great comments. Let's keep going. Ah. So do you see I'm almost seeing what looks like this uncertainty, and Libra is the scales of justice. You know, the sign of Libra holds the scales. And so those scales, you could look at this like the scales that are tipping forward and back and up, around and around, right? Um, and when we have that uncertainty, we tend to, I want to say, kind of cover it. We try to protect ourselves from it. We build up a thick skin. When I see this 7 of Cups, which can be very like overindulgence in Virgo, the house of home and or not home, sorry, of healthy habits. If we've got overindulgence, and in Scorpio, the ability to have almost deep emotional maturity and resilience, and we've got closed off 4 of Cups, emotional protection. There's We're trying to handle this uncertainty. I'm not entirely sure that these are the best strategies for it. We'll see what comes around. Next to this card, across from this card, we'll see what comes around. But just be aware that it does feel uncomfortable, and yet it doesn't really help us to build up huge walls against that, because they shut us off from our own creativity. Look at these little pages down here, just wanting to catalyze things. So let's keep going. Wow. Quite a lot of emotion over here. Queen of Cups in Sagittarius. Goodness gracious. I don't see her there virtually ever. That's a very, very unusual placement for the Queen of Cups. Sag is almost the opposite of the Queen of Cups. Sag is really like ruled by Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. It's expansion, it's luck, it's adventure, spontaneity. The Queen of Cups is like wrap yourself up in a big blanket, stay home and be safe, which goes along very strongly with this 4 of Cups. So notice, I have to say that I'm personally feeling quite irritated by how many restrictions seem to be coming in around travel. Everything from needing visas to go to all these countries now, and all these regulations, and it's just, yeah, I feel, I don't want to say suspicious, but I feel aggravated. It feels very much like, one of two things. Either we're being protected from something as this chaos kind of comes into balance, or there is more and more of an effort to keep us in one place. And I never like that feeling of restriction. It's sort of like claustrophobic feeling to me. Does anyone else feel that way when you hear, all these restrictions, can't go here, can't go there? I mean, oh yeah, good point. Thank you, Miller. A lot of blue, even in my background, right? So yeah, I feel claustrophobic when I'm told you can't go here, you can't go there, you can't go there. And remember learning about borders and passports. And really, that is a very, very new thing. This idea of passports to go across borders is so recent. Like, I think it's within the last 100 years or something. And now we're looking at you can't even travel without a passport, a this, a that, you know, fingerprinted, facial recognition. It's just, and then, visas to go into every country, even the one right next door. Like, yeah, I don't like that. So I'm willing to consider that there's some sort of white hat operation that's attempting to keep us safe as these big transitions are sorted. But some part of me gets quite kind of up in arms about that. So yeah, interesting. It's across from Three of Pentacles. One thing I can say is that about 3 years ago, or maybe even 4 years ago now, when I was doing readings at the beginning of the pandemic, I saw that we were going to be traveling less, and our travel was going to be more purposeful. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, really appreciating travel and doing it like not just traveling as a kind of consumption as a tourist, but doing it in a very purposeful way where we either have, work or education or collaboration or study or something, not just tourism. I'm kind of okay with that being a trend. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Yeah. Mhm. Even though the states are huge, it still feels like a box and caged per each state. Uh-huh. Limits of living in a box. Mhm. Yeah, I feel they're controlling our movement. Aw, thank you, Sunshine Grease. Just reminding people that I don't usually stop to take comments in this show. I'm in sort of collective channel mode, and I do take comments in the Down the Rabbit Hole show. So jump on over there if you have questions. Sorry, I take comments here. I don't take questions here. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's keep going. Oh, my. Wow. Now, am I correct? Did we not have the King of Wands and the Page of Wands together last week too? I feel like we did. Huh. That's interesting. I'll have to go back and look. Yeah, I'm getting the chills. It's like, this is very interesting. So the Page of Wands is that kind of, as I said, a catalyst, a little bit of a trickster energy, and the King of Wands. So we've got the Page in the four court cards. You have the Page, then comes the Knight, then comes the Queen, and finally the King, all in the suit of Wands or Swords or Cups or Pentacles, depending on which suit it is. In this case, Wands. So we have the Page, who's the smallest of the court characters in the suit of Wands, and we have the King, who's the biggest, right in alignment with each other. which I feel like happened last week too, which would be extraordinarily rare. I almost feel like it was the other way around last week. What does this mean? You know, golly, this is a breakthrough in Capricorn. Capricorn is for the self as a personal placement. The house of Capricorn represents our self-actualization, our life purpose, coming into alignment with our purpose, our calling, that kind of thing. And this King of Wands is unstoppable. Unstoppable. He is the most charismatic, like fiery, going to succeed. Like, kind of the the superstar of the tarot, you could say, the celebrity of the tarot. And that's coming up in our house of our own personal success, but also related to our collective rules, systems. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's a lot about, systems of public consensus reality on fire. The most charismatic, catalytic character in the tarot up there. This is revolutionary energy. And it's interesting that the little catalyst down here kind of grows into that up there. So I would suggest that what this is showing me is we have a huge influence this week on what goes on in the larger arena of the world by how we treat the energy inside ourselves. That, we're unstoppable energy. We're not going to rest. We're not going to get too comfortable. We're going to be okay with sitting with the discomfort of the uncertainty of these times and not going into being tricked into locking ourselves down. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Knight of Pentacles, opposite Eight of Swords in Cancer. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. It might have been in one of the readings that I did on the Rabbit Hole show. I'm not sure, but anyway, I do recall those two being in cahoots recently. I don't think it was in a personal reading. I feel like it was on a show. Yeah. So, coming into the home stretch here. Four of Swords in Aquarius. Four of Swords in Aquarius. Got to think about this for a minute. Not a lot of swords in this spread so far. We've got this king here, and we've got the little page over here. So we've got the king and the page of wands and the king and the page of swords. That's kind of interesting. The elder and the youth. And then we've got this Four of Swords. Well, Four of Swords is, among other things, related to timing. So similar to this Two of Pentacles, there's waiting, observing, not jumping to conclusions. There's this waiting and watching. You'll notice this character is meditating. Three swords are hanging on the wall, and they are meditating and observing and waiting for things to come into focus, for things to make more sense, calming the mind. It does feel like coming out of that Gemini full moon, we have the opportunity to come into some sort of mental integration of all of this information. We've talked a lot over the last 3 or 4 years about the information wars, and we've really talked in the last 4 or 5 months about just how much barrage of information is coming at us. This week, and even going into this end of this year, feels like there is a calm where we can sort of process a lot of that data. Naturally, it's filtering in. You might even notice that you're just not seeing as much sensational news. There's this calm. Now, it's calm before the storm, I'm not sure, but it does feel that there's a processing, a grace period to process some of what you've been intaking over the last 4 years even. Wow. Amazing. So allow that. If you feel yourself going, what's happening? It feels kind of quiet. Just say, well, yeah, this is that integration time. Oh, so nice. So nice. Empress in Pisces. Empress in Pisces. So the Empress, she's Mother Nature, among other things, but one of her representations that I love, because there's not a lot of cards in the tarot that really speak to nature. Some of the pentacles sort of do, but the Empress does. She is, Mother Earth, Mother Nature. And she's showing up in Pisces, which is, kind of the internal self. Pisces is like the deep subconscious, the place of our hopes, our fears, our greatest dreams, our nighttime dreams, and potentially our self-undoing. Our self-sabotage lives in Pisces. Having the Empress there is a great invitation. An invitation to connect with the natural world this week. Let yourself be nourished in a very, very big way. It's interesting. I think it came up in the rabbit hole show when I was feeling and saying to everyone, get outside this week. Before, those of us up here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's getting colder and colder coming into the end of the year and Christmas and so on. And we might be spending a lot of time indoors as it gets closer to the holidays. And I just keep hearing, be outside. Get outside this week. Even if you sort of feel like the weather isn't ideal or whatever, it does feel very important. Look at that across from this 7 of Cups in Virgo. Yeah. Looking over at the comments. Yeah. Unstoppable. Okay. Last card. And then we're going to look at some of the slides that I've got here to share with you. Oh, the chariot. The chariot. Okay. Now, isn't that curious? Because we were talking about travel. We were talking about travel with this Queen of Cups here. Okay. Let's go at this from a few angles. It's in the center for starters. So the card in the center is kind of like the hub of the wheel, pardon the pun. We've got the chariot and its wheel. it's everything is sort of moving through that center card. Do you see that? Like all the other alignments sort of go through there. So the chariot is about free will. To me, the most relevant interpretation of it is our free will in action. What is it that motivates our will? What is it that, you know, activates our destiny? And the chariot is different for each person. It's like your Merkaba, the spaceship that is your soul's kind of container that you came here to navigate with. It's your unique destiny blueprint. And it does feel really important to be more and more and more in alignment and attunement with that frequency of your unique destiny. There is a lot of roads of destiny lining up. And this week, you may start to have that big feeling that a lot of destiny paths are converging. And notice what inspires you to take action. Pay attention to that this week. You know, you can know a lot of really good things, but what is it that gets you activated? What is it that gets you up off the couch? Gets you to step more fully into your destiny. Destiny, frequency. You know, I used to say this about charity. If everybody gave to their 3 favorite charities, all the charities would get covered because people would pick different 3. It's the same with destiny. If each of us follows our unique destiny, everything will get done because we all have a different path. Now, many of us on this platform have similar paths. That's why we are in this bandwidth together, sharing and growing and learning together. But each of us also has some very unique aspects to our destiny that are unlike everyone else's. So this week, having that destiny vehicle at the very center of the wheel feels there is some sort of attunement going on to help align you with destiny. And there might be a meaningful journey required to fulfill that. So we're left with a bit of a cliffhanger this week. It's like, is there a meaningful trip or journey that you need to do to take another very big step in the direction of your destiny? And if there is, are you going to let these global restrictions hamper that? Or are you going to say, no way? Charismatically revolutionary style. Yeah, there could be a feeling this week of going, I'm doing that trip. I don't care if it's difficult to jump through those hoops. Because I do say quite earnestly that if we just roll over and let that be the way and don't push it back against it, we know what happens with zero pushback. And sometimes I think that we're being tested to see if we will push back. Even if these are white hat operations, it's our freedom is up to us. If we don't want it, we'll just acquiesce to every ridiculous thing. So what does freedom mean to you? Ooh, sorry, that felt a little bit almost lecturish. Yeah. Right? Focus. Focus makes the chariot move. Focus does. Aw, thanks, Lupo. That's so nice. Thank you very much. Chariot is going to the aid of, I don't know, John. I guess it's all going to depend on an individual's destiny. The chariot for me is time to forge on after all the turmoil and now see what lays ahead that is good. I like it. I like it. So, what lays ahead for us, everybody? Well, let's have a peek at the slides here before I sign off. You can book a session with me. You can find the link below. Please use the coupon code to get a 10% discount. And here is another great opportunity, 50% off Insider Access Pass. Tomorrow is the last day to access the discount, Monday 50. Go to beyondmystic.net, use that coupon code, get 50% off your Insider Access Pass. And while you're there, check out in the Academy this new offering, the amazing presentation on consciousness with Penny Kelly from the conference. If you didn't have a chance to see that, or you haven't purchased the replay, you just want to see Penny, here's your opportunity. Jump on over and access that. Looking ahead at the next few days, tomorrow is a blank slate. Everybody take a break tomorrow. Monday, we're back with Beyond the News, Jean-Claude and Janine. And Tuesday, the new Psychic Spies. Well, we just did that. That's last week's schedule. Not that this week, folks, but you can find Crystal on the Beyond Karma show. And then Wednesday, Beyond Crystal Code and Beyond the News. So I wish you all a lovely weekend, week ahead. This looks quite nice, doesn't it? If you look at the overall energy of this week's layout, I don't see a lot of doom and gloom and scary stuff. We had some pretty intense stuff the last couple of weeks. There is a bit of a stabilizing feeling here. We have 2 4s. 4s are stabilizing, so mastering, stabilizing. We also have, what else do we have? A 2, a 3, a 7, 2 7s actually, because we have the 7 of Cups and the Chariot. 7s, the spiritual destiny, the self, the spiritual self, the seeker, mastering our alignment with self is also highlighted this week. And of course, 2 Kings and 2 Pages. Kind of bookends, really, in the realm of thought and energy. Have a lovely week, everybody. I look forward to seeing you here again real soon. Bye for now.